Hello YouTube, welcome back to Rimworld, and the center of the Nebulous Plains, or at least the ruins of it. Before I actually what's it called? Before I abandon this tile, I figured it'd be a decent idea to at least show you around. Now, despite what I might have thought, Harkin actually was pretty damn good. He was able to finish off the, I don't know if I showed it in the last episode, but he was able to one-tap the termite. So took that thing down. And then he was able to actually take down the Scyther fairly easily. Mind you, the Scyther was already injured, so that was handy. The better news is that he was able to go and kill off most of the Shamblers, including the Gore Hulk. He was able to actually get a pretty good lucky shot on the Gore Hulk, so it wasn't able to get much further than the entryway. And since Harkin was able to do that, and Ada was barely injured at all I really did was just have him patch up what few wounds he had, patch up the others, while Harkin was going and fighting for his life over here. And then I opened up the wall, got them some more weaponry from my storage room here, which I'm actually now glad that I actually made the hospital exactly adjacent to the storage room. I didn't actually mean to do that, but now I'm thankful that I did. So I went, grabbed some weapons, yada yada yada, blah blah blah, came out here, and by then, Harkin had actually taken out most of them, leaving only like 2 or 3. So, yeah, all I had to do was just clean up after Harkin, actually. Gotta give the man props on that one. He saved our butts, and what's more is, he didn't even die. Yeah, Harkin was downed, but not dead. Of course, it didn't exactly hurt that a few of our wandering animals out here, well, they managed to do a little bit of damage to the Shamblers before they came in. I mean, as soon as the Gore Hulk came through, yeah, he basically just brute forced his way through. But eventually we were able to go and, well, take everyone down. Unfortunately, it came at the cost of all of our robots, so that's that, unfortunately. But we were able to do it. And, unfortunately, that is where the story of the center of the Nebulous Plains ends. And the beginning of a new settlement. As I said, I was going to run off with the colonists that managed to survive. And as I said, since Harkin was kicking so much ass, I basically was able to run out there and actually save Mech. Of course, it was real touch and go. He had an infection that nearly frickin' killed him. But, thankfully, I was able to get some herbal medicine from over here while the Shamblers were all busy getting their asses kicked by my bots. And I was able to save Mech's life. And we were able to go and make our new colony, yeah, way down here. Now, obviously, there's a reason why we came down here. We came down here for a specific, very good reason. And that was to get closer to our boys, the Northeast Shoni. And you know, that would be a great idea. We'd be able to go and have the corpse take it on over there and get a little bit of silver, which we did. We were able to do so and pick up a bit of, well, starting resources. A bit of survival package meals, some well-needed medicine. Though we did bring a breeding pair of chicks and a breeding pair of lambs. Of course, as well as our Mux Ox. But yeah, that that right there is everything that we now have. Some components, some advanced components, a little bit of steel, our bedrolls, and then the packaged survival meals and the medicine we were able to go and actually, you know, buy. So, yeah. Thank you, the center of the Nebulous Plains. We're sorry that, well, we're sorry that you were gone too soon. Goodbye. Yep, and this is just telling us we're leaving all these animals and all the dryads, which, unfortunately, yes, we are going to. And because of the toxic waste in the area there, a few of the people up there are going to be a little bit pissy. But you might be wondering, why exactly did we move down here? Why did we move down here? Well, easy. Permanent summer. Don't get me wrong, if it wasn't in the middle of fricking winter, or near the end of it at the very least, I would have gone somewhere a little bit colder just for shits and giggles. Just to go and actually keep challenging ourselves. But since it was the middle of winter, yeah, let's not mess about with that. So, how are we going to set up our new colony now? That is, unfortunately, how we're going to have to think about this. And I think the main place that we're going to set our new colony up is, well, we're going to start living up here. Yeah. Obviously, Gara's not going to be too happy. Hell, none of them is really going to be super freaking happy for a while. But it is what it's going to have to be. And one other thing I'm going to need to absolutely do as soon as possible is I'm going to need to chop down some oak trees. And I'm going to need to get Gara on that immediately. Sorry, Gara. I know you want to take a breather, but, no. Sorry, but we got animals who are going to be starting to wander off if we don't do this. There you are. Yeah. Do this, then put in a fence gate right there. Fence gate right there. Fence gate right here. And that. Okay. And we are going to separate the animals into male and female. Because, as you might figure, we don't exactly have the people to be trying to deal with animals right now. So the animals are just gonna have to live separately according to their genders. That way they don't run the risk of trying to have babies before we have somebody who can actually, you know, slaughter them. And Min, you're not going to be very... Oh. Yeah, Min's not going to be very useful in the beginning. When we need as many haulers and builders as we can get. Good news, though. You can handle... yeah, she can handle animals. She's on animal duty. She's on animal duty. And it looks like we got the storage place built up, at least. Alrighty. Now we need to build up the communal barracks. And it is going to be real flippin' simple. Like, so simple that it's scary how simple it's going to be. Alrighty, yeah. And when we eventually do go and start, well, making stuff, we're realistically gonna probably have our main food growing area down here. Since we'll probably close off this entire area. Eventually. In fact, we'll probably have we'll have a wall up here, we're gonna have a wall here, and then a wall here. Obviously, we'll close off this area eventually. Eventually being the key word here. And Gara's just having a tough time of things. You know what, Gara, I'm just gonna have you be hauling stuff. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but yeah, you go haul stuff. You can help with the animals later, but for right now, haul stuff. Because that's unfortunately what we need more than anything. And actually, work on that bedroll, work on that bedroll, and work on that bedroll. And then work on that bedroll. Sorry to tell you this, but since everybody's sleeping on the floor, let's not. How about we don't and say we didn't? Obviously, I did manage to grab the psychic neoformer, Siling neoformer. If it wasn't for that badass Harkin, if it wasn't for the badass Harkin, I honestly would have just given it to somebody. And honestly speaking, I am gonna give it to somebody. I'm gonna give it to Ada. Now, the reason why I'm giving it to Ada is because, well, to be honest, he's kind of, yeah. He's pretty much the only guy that I have a good chance of basically using as a halfway decent fighter, but he doesn't have any real skills. He needs better skills in order to do that. And Psycasts are our people. Now, I really wish I would have been able to go and show you this in a better circumstance, but this will do for now. So, this is the Psycast screen. Now, obviously, this is part of a mod. This is, I think, vanilla expanded Psycasts, where they basically make it a little bit better to be a Psycaster. Now, normally when you become a Psycaster, it gives you a random ability rolled within the tier 1 stuff, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. With this one, all it does is up your Psycaster level by 1. And each level gives you points to spend. Points you can either dump into your Psycaster stats, which obviously increase your neural heat limit, your neural heat recovery rate, your psychic sensitivity, and your psi focus cost factor. Or you can change your focus type to something else. Right now he has morbid and natural. These are two that he has already. Now, normally I think they, characters, depending on them, normally have natural, yeah. Morbid, though, is something he only has because I think he's a psychopath. And then you have the various different paths of being a Psycaster. Now, obviously, this one, the Archaeotechris, whatever, it's only for Imperials. So since we're not actually technically an Imperial whatever, an Imperial colony, yeah, this is locked to us. Though, you wouldn't know it if you freaking looked at all the quests they were giving us, like, holy shit. Now, honestly speaking, I'm gonna do none of these. Honestly speaking, I can afford to waste every single one upgrading his stats. You'll see here that his neural heat limit went up by 1. And his neural heat recovery rate went up by 0.10. As well, and his psychic sensitivity went up by 10%, and his psi focus cost went down by 2%. So obviously for the heat limit, it goes up by 0.5 each point. The heat recovery rate goes up by 0.05 every point. The psychic sensitivity goes up by 5%, and the psi focus cost factor goes down by 1%. I assume that you could get it down to 0% if you worked hard enough. Technically speaking, you need to get your character up to level 50 and be dumping everything into Psycaster stats. But realistically speaking here, don't. I can assure you, if you're trying to get a free Psycaster, I mean, yeah, sure you could, but I would advise against it. I would advise against it. Okay. And now we've got the chickies and the lambs both separated according to gender. So now we won't have to worry about them trying to, well, make more babies. Which is a good thing. Oh, and one more thing that I saved. Our cybernetic image. As you might expect, art isn't exactly going to be something that we're going to focus on anytime soon. So, yeah. Oh, and I saved the ambrosia too. Obviously, that's just going to help us out with our colony. Obviously, it's. Honestly, I couldn't take a lot, so I had to pick and choose what I wanted to bring, and it was either bring the ambrosia and the and a bit of steel, or possibly bring that infinite chem fuel reactor and hope to Christ that that it works out. And yeah, I chose the immediate rewards that would actually help us in the, immediate terms, instead of going for the stuff that would be okay longer term, but but would eventually cost us. Now, I spent a lot of time looking around the area to try to find the perfect spot, and I truly believe that I have found it. For the map, I mean. This right here, the terrain is mostly marble, according to this, sandstone, and granite. And of course, it's mountainous. Now, you'll see here that it's supposedly, technically, can have winter. Obviously, I didn't go straight for the, I didn't intentionally go to a permanent summer area. I intended to actually go and, try to go and have a bit of a challenge, but, it apparently wasn't meant to be, apparently. Which, okay, fair enough. Works for me. Okay, and let us have his meditation spot, because, yeah, Psycasters need to meditate in order to maintain their psychic powers. However, this isn't some sunk cost fallacy where you're basically having to do something for really no benefit. Every time Ada goes and meditates, yeah, this little experience bar goes up. So, yes, it is a good idea to let your guys be meditating all the dang time if they're a Psycaster. Now, obviously, for a beginning colony, that doesn't exactly work out too well. God damn it. Thank you, Gara. It's not like we wanted to keep that around or anything. At least we managed to keep 150. Oh well. Thanks, Gara. I'm sure we didn't need that. Okay, so let us start off with what we are going to need for our farm. And we're not going to go super crazy, since it is a permanent growing weather. These are just going to grow forever. Save for, obviously, the few times that it'll become blighted. Obviously. Well, I guess I shouldn't say few times. It's going to become blighted pretty regularly, in my experience, in permanent summer areas. But, yeah, we should be more or less fine, so long as we're not super stupid about it. Alright, there you are, cotton. Go for tension. Go for hay grass. And I'm actually going to expand that to second row. This one's going to be our tea. This is going to be our coffee. Do we want to go with coffee? Or do we want to go with hop? We'll go with hops. Hops for eventual beer. And this over here is going to be for our potatoes. Mash them, bash them, stick them in a stew. Okay. So that is that. We are doing slightly better. Well, relatively speaking. We're going to have them dump all the rocks that we don't really need over here. And only rocks. We don't need any corpses, just the rocks. And we don't need any of the waste packs either. And now we're building the building. And the barracks has been completed. Okay, good. And actually, you know what? Let's just be on the safe side and we'll build a wall right over here. And we'll probably also do likewise right here. Just build the wall there. Honestly speaking, that's not going to really do much except for just make sure that nothing goes super stupendously wrong or messes with us too terribly bad. I will say, I am kind of sad that we lost our lifter, but then again, the fact that we were able to get four colonists out of that shit show definitely was worth it. Definitely made losing all of our bots worth it. Relatively speaking. Oh! And I haven't even shown you the best part. So, as you've seen with, well, Mech here, mood debuffs and all that jazz can make them gain traits. But so can getting over illnesses. And apparently when Mech got over his illness, he gained pretty. I don't know how the fuck having injuries make you go pretty, but I'm not gonna say shit. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been something like staggeringly ugly. So, you know what, Mech? I'm glad you're a pretty boy now. I'm so glad that I don't have to fucking deal with, well, another staggeringly ugly colonist. We got lucky in that regard. And I almost forgot to go and set the, plant cutting in these places. That'll definitely help our, help our wood needs once Gara wakes up. There is a slight problem with there being multiple, with there being more than two different kinds of stones, and that's these chunks, these rock chunks that are around. Yeah, sometimes around your area, there's a lot more of the ones that you don't need than the ones that you do. Now, sandstone here, that one I probably already told you guys about, but I'm actually really glad I found a place that had both sandstone and the granite and marble that we absolutely are going to want. Thanks to that, sandstone is actually going to be our main use for our traps when we eventually set up our trap hallway again. Even though it really didn't help us out last time, really. I mean, yes, but also no. It helped with the, it helped us with the mech cluster, but, yeah, didn't help us out when the mechanoids decided to thump their way in through our doorways. Though that does show you an interesting point about the granite, is that the doors were still there. The doors survived. The walls did not. So, if in the future, well, in the future, we really ought to go and make the rest of our area a little bit more fortified with granite walls. And the first herbal medicine of our new colony. And you know what? Let us just have you guys start deconstructing the stuff in the immediate vicinity. We're not going to go too deep out, but we're also not going to keep them super necessity. Oh, hey. We got some silver down here. Sweet. Well, that's going to kind of help. Okay. Alrighty. Well, that is a good first step, I believe. I think that this is a decent-ish time to call the episode off. Obviously, before I started recording, I was doing a lot of rushing around, getting things set up, and while don't get me wrong, I'm sure that you guys probably wouldn't have minded seeing that. I also didn't want to try to have to explain what I was doing while I was doing it, because it didn't it didn't look like things were going to work out real well. I was hoping I was going to be able to get these three out. Hoping being the key word there. But, honestly speaking, I wasn't actually that sure that it was actually going to happen. I was actually more convinced that I was probably going to have a serious wipe on my hands, since obviously when I sent Ada out to go and actually start fighting, he was still injured. Min was still injured. Garo was still injured. Mech was heavily injured. They were all bleeding out. They just weren't bleeding out enough to actually kill them yet. Yet being the key word there. I'll say this again, if it wasn't for Harkin, we wouldn't have had these colonists, any of these colonists, probably, to help us out, because the Shamblers probably would have broken down the door to our hospital and probably would have just killed us all. That's probably what they would have done. So, thank you, Harkin, for being a badass, and I really wish I had actually written down what his factions name was. I'm pretty sure I probably can go back to my previous save and I think I might just do that. Just find out what faction we owe our lives to, and send them some gifts. Maybe ally ourselves with them in the future. But that's gonna do it for this episode. I thank you all for watching, and I'm sorry if we got knocked back to, the primitive age. But at the very least, we're in a much, much better age. Our gear might not be the best, but at the very least we were able to take a little bit. I really should have gone through here and forced them all to grab the really, really good stuff, but, we were kind of in a rush to get out of there before another bad situation came through against us. But for now, that is going to do this episode. I thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you guys are okay with us continuing this, or if you'd rather just say last episode was a good ending point for this colony. Try a different kind of colony. Which, if you guys do want me to do that, okay, I guess I can. But I think this wouldn't be a half bad thing to continue on. I mean, worst comes to worst, we just keep doing this. Where we keep slowly building up a small group of core colonists while running from massive dangers that keep popping up for some stupid reason. So, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, do the whole YouTube thing, and we'll see you all later. Sayonara.